Is it time for us to rebalance our portfolios? Welcome to Subramani. Rebalancing is a very well time tested technique to give you peace of mind. It is not necessarily the best thing for you to do to improve your returns, right? So, how does rebalancing help? Rebalancing helps that you sell the best performing asset class to buy the worst performing asset class. For example, if you have debt, equity, and gold in your portfolio, and maybe a little bit of cash, then you rebalance. So you say, oh, gold has done too well, now let me sell some gold and buy some equity. Or you say, oh, equity has over performed, so I wanted a ratio of say 45-50 in equity, 30 in debt, 10 in gold and 10 in cash. So I got 50-30-10, which is where I started. Now it has become 65-30 and very little in gold. So what I should be doing is to say, okay, I am at a very high level in equity, let me sell equity and buy more gold. But this is very nice to say, but intuitively it is nice to sit and calculate with an Excel sheet, but it is very difficult for you to implement. For example, if you had a portfolio of Reliance, DMart, HDFC Bank and Nestle, and how would you rebalance? What would you sell and what would you buy more? Are you in the mood to sell DMart? Are you going to say, oh, Amazon is coming into India, now I should sell DMart? Or are you going to say, DMart has rich and powerful friends who will never let the share price go down? So depending on how you want to use it, because you are very unlikely to sell something which is doing well. Will you sell HDFC Bank and say, let me sell HDFC Bank and buy something else because I think it is the PE is too high or something like that? Rebalancing means that. Rebalancing means selling shares which are doing well to buy shares which have more potential, right? It's not very easy. So let us look at the advantages and disadvantages of rebalancing. So first thing, in case you need, it can source you cash flows. For example, you're looking at a portfolio now in July 2020 and you realize that you need some cash. So obviously from where will the cash come? Apart from the fact that you don't have anything in your credit card or you don't have a old classic endowment policy from which you can borrow, you have nothing, so you have to sell something. Fairly obvious that your attention will turn to large cap stocks or gold, right? Because you will say, oh, gold is at an all-time high, so let me sell a little bit of gold. That is what you should be doing. Theory says that is what you should be doing. However, you might find an excuse and say, oh, the reserve banks are printing too much of notes, so gold is better than having the money in dollar or even in rupee. So let me just go and withdraw some cash and use it, or let me sell something else. I may not want to sell gold, though actually mathematically I should be selling gold, right? So it's a good way to source your cash flows. So you can do that. A better diversified portfolio might actually give you better sleep at night, right? So for some people, when they see that their short-term returns are terrible, then there is worry, panic, should I sell, Subra, what should I do, phone calls, right? And which is what I don't remember who, somebody said, short-term myopic. We are very much concerned about what happens in the short run. We are not worried about what happens in the long run. We have enough proof for that, right? If you're given a sweet and you have sugar problem or you have a weight problem, what you're supposed to do is to say, no, I don't want, because in the long term this sugar is going to hurt my body and my mind perhaps. But what happens is you succumb to the immediate 30-second pleasure on your palate, because the minute you put it, that's it. That's a 30-second pleasure and it's over, and then for 30 years it's on your waist. But we do succumb for short-term fun versus long-term gain, right? So we do that. So having said that you are able to sleep well with an equity portfolio which is currently not doing well, you're still better off. But if you don't understand equity markets well, and you're worried that something will happen to all your money because in the short run you've got a minus 3%, what happens if the same thing happens over the next 10 months? Every month I get minus 3% and then I'll be down by 30-40%. This is not the way to look at it. So you will learn how to look at equity growth over a period of time. Therefore, whether to use rebalancing is something which you should reconsider depending on your level of understanding also, right? The advantage of doing rebalancing it allows you to manage, especially if it's your client's portfolio, at the risk levels at which they want it to be managed and not at the risk levels at which you think it should be managed. What the client thinks is risk profile and how it should be managed is more important than what all your books on theory and all say, because that each individual could be very different. So based on that you could do. It will also mean you can pay off your tax obligations and rethink of how to keep your money in say a nice good big debt fund and in a growth option, and say I will withdraw this only after 30 years, right? So you can do that. It's put cash in your hand for other charitable giving or things like that. That's also asset allocation does. It's rebalancing. When you do that, you will sell some gold and take it into cash and say, oh, let me sell a little more and do some charity, right? So for any of those things also, the cash will be available, and how to use it is for you to decide. Thank you.